Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Razum Pereira. The Supreme Court has been informed that women may not be suitable for command posts in the army. This is because the male troops are not yet prepared to accept women, the centre told the Supreme Court. The dangers of women being taken prisoner of war was also cited by the centre. The centre also said that the armed forces require sacrifices and commitment beyond the call of duty by the entire family of service personnel, involving separation and frequent transfers, affecting the education of children and career prospects of the spouse. It is a challenge for women to meet these hazards of service owing to prolonged absence during pregnancy, motherhood and domestic obligations towards their children and families, especially when both husband and wife happen to be in service officers, the centre also contended in the Supreme Court. Now, opposing the plea, the lawyers representing the women officers told the court that many of them displayed exceptional bravery in adverse situations and command posts should not be based on gender. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyse if women should be in combat commanding roles or not. Joining me on the programme today are Captain Anubha Rathod, retired defence expert; Aishwarya Bhati, advocate of the Supreme Court representing the women officers; and Major General Dhruv C. Katoch, retired director, India Foundation. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Anubha Rathod, let me start the program with you. Your thoughts on all of this, because it's been happening for some time now. Finally, the government has said what it had to say in the Supreme Court. You being someone who's served, what are your thoughts on this?
See, I think this is an endless debate. We've been debating it since the time I was inducted in the army, and after leaving army for past almost 15 years, the same thing is still on. But here the irony is the decision is taken without the person or the gender being there. You take decision on the behalf of somebody who can speak for themselves. So they are absent. So this, I feel that firstly, what are the data on the basis of what you're talking like that? So far, if you've inducted women, you have seen that they have excelled in whatever, field they were inducted. So what is the basis for that? If you are concerned about their safety and security, I respect that. But here I would like to talk about the empowerment which you would like to give to women and collect the data on the ground rather than just thinking that this may happen, this may not happen. So I feel that the opportunity should be given, and after that a decision can be taken.
Okay, all right. So, General, let me bring you to the picture now. So, what are the challenges really as far as having women on the front line is concerned? Are sepoys that level or that caliber of people in the army, will they not be able to take orders from commanding officers who are women? What is the problem really? Should the mindset change? What is it?
You see, let us look at it in a slightly different way. Are we simply talking about political correctness, or are we talking about functional requirements? Let's get that right. So there is a functional requirement. Now, as far as women are concerned, I don't think there is any doubt about their capability, right? Women are very capable, and in many cases they are more capable than men. It depends on what type of role you give them. So it is not a question of about who is more capable or who is not capable. It is really a question of what happens in an operational area. Now, if we have women in operational areas, you cannot get to command unless you have done your grounding as a lieutenant. Then you have worked your way up to a commanding officer at 15 years or 16 years of service. In my time, it was 20 years of service, right? Now, what happens in an operational area? This is what I want to tell you. I have served for 2 years in Sri Lanka in Op Pavan. I was a company commander then. Many times you have to be out for 3 to 4 days on patrol. Throughout the night, throughout the day, you are out of any base. You have no administrative cover-up except what you're carrying on your back, right? The officers are expected to lead, and they have to be in the front line. In any of these operation situations, if you are operating in the jungles, the same situation happens. Now let us go to the mountains. I was a commanding officer in the mountain sector, again for 3 years. Now there we had 17 posts which were right strung out on the line. Now each of these posts, for me to go there, I had to walk one whole day in 6 feet of snow in many areas to reach my post. I was very mobile just to get to those posts. Now, you have to post this young lady officer there in that post where she's all alone by herself, right? It is a very lonely job. It's a very difficult job, right? It is not something which you can just say, okay, it can be done, right? The men expect something from the officer. They expect that frontline leadership. But what will really happen when you are looking at these situations, and I'm simply talking of psychology, if I am the commanding officer, I will say, listen, why take the chance? I'll keep the lady in my headquarters, right? Headquarters, I will see that she's safe, right? I'll complete my time. I don't want anything wrong to happen. She falls sick there. How do I evacuate her? Evacuation is a very, very serious business. It just doesn't take place. There are many pitfalls in putting women in commanding roles. It is simply not commanding roles. They have to go through the mill. And I think that is where the real danger lies. At some point of time, perhaps it may happen. But listen, we are not Israel. We are not a nation where every single man, woman and child is a soldier. There are, and the second point I want to bring out on this is, why are we so concerned about officers? Why hasn't anybody put up a case for women in the ranks? Why is it only excluded to officers? Officers have got a specific role. And once we start diluting those roles based on what we perceive to be political correctness or to show to the world that we are gender equal, there are many better ways to show gender equality. I don't mind if you have 75% of people in parliament as women. I think that will be a very welcome step. All legislatures, all put them, that is where they are really required. Put more women in our educational institutions. Say you can make it 75%. That is the place where they will really make a difference. And they are better than the men. I've got no doubts about it.
Right.
So,
okay.
But in the army, if you want to put them in commanding roles in combat, we are talking about the infantry, we are talking about the armored corps. I'm afraid these are frontline troops. I'm afraid you will be compromising on something very, very basic, which may not suit us. And more importantly, I think the pressure will then come onto the male officers. They will be carrying the major burden. They won't show it, but they will be carrying it.
Okay. All right. So, Aishwarya Patil, let me bring you into the picture now. We've heard both the speakers before you speak about this. Let's look at it from the general's point of view. Let's not look to be politically correct, but let's look at the bigger picture. Now, he says that you have women in other roles where they can truly make an impact, but in forward positions and frontline positions, maybe that would not be the best place to have women. Your thoughts?
Well, I have the privilege of appearing for some of the lady officers in the Permanent Commission matter where this note has been given yesterday to the court. So I have I think first a few things I must start with the caveat that in army, women are not taken in combat roles, and that is not even an issue before the court. The women officers are given short service commission as well as permanent commission only in support arms and combat support arms, which are 10 streams of the army. So women are not there in combat yet, and the courts have also not gone into it. The Delhi High Court refrained from going into it and said that, well, this is an issue, a policy decision that the government has to take when it is ready. Now, so combat roles are out. Women are not there yet. But since 1992, when women were first inducted as short service commission officers, they have been there in these 10 streams in which now they have been granted the option of permanent commission also. So these 10 streams where they have been here since 1992, to deny them commanding roles at the time of giving them permanent commission is wrong, because these are not arms which are there in combat roles in the front line, etc. Though I must tell you that, actually the commanding roles are roles in which you have to step back. You have to be at the command center. You are in the line of fire there when you are actually on the field areas. You are on the line of control. Now, India has a very unique problem in the northeast sector, in the Jammu and Kashmir. So these unique problems, and we have seen we have now examples. We don't need to talk about all this in theory or hypothetical situation. Colonel Mithali Madhumita was the first woman officer to be granted a Sena Medal, which is a gallantry award which was granted to her for her role in Afghanistan. Kabul, where she was posted as an education officer, she was in the eye of the storm at the Fidaiin attack, and her citation reads that she was responsible for saving 19 lives. Come to the recent Balakot attack. We had Wing Commander Abhinandan, the whole country knows. But do you know there was a squadron leader, Minty Agarwal, who was granted the Yuddha Sena medal because she was the flight controller who was responsible for that. See, I appreciate and respect everybody's views here, but the role of combat is also changing. Though right now we are not even talking about combat roles for the women in Indian Army. So there's a long line for, if you take them in combat roles, why deny them commanding officers' positions? If you are taking them in other arms, support arms, why deny them commanding officers' position? They are already commanding companies. They are already in all those, roles as young officers. And I mean, the reasoning, I probably get a little carried away by it, but the reasoning that is given in that note, which is submitted to the court, is, I mean, it just raises boogies. It's like saying that women are not good enough to be granted permanent commission. It actually runs counter and antithetical to the policy decision that has been taken by the Union of India itself. So some things need to be straightened up, and it just doesn't count in today's time.
Okay, since we are here, Anubha Rathod, let's take the discussion forward now and let's talk about this issue of commanding roles and if there is, at some level, discrimination choosing between a man and a woman for this commanding role.
See, as Aishwarya brought it out, that was a very valid point that so far the women are not inducted in the fighting arms. So once they are in supporting arms and they are still doing, if not the top level, but second echelon, they are taking command roles and doing it very well. So why not give them a chance? This is a denial of an opportunity which you don't even know that how they are going to perform, but in my opinion definitely they'll do it very well. Now another thing which certain very baseless, I would say, and not very relevant, that POW and things like that, if they are happening, so honey traps are also happening. So it is not that women will not be able to do well. They will be able to do well. So far they've been doing well. There are so many examples that had been cited and people are aware. So let the woman decide. I don't know who are these panelists or in the government who are saying that they won't be able to do that. I mean, where is the woman who's saying that I will not be able to do that? And then it is matter of, the training and the conditioning. So that can be achieved. It is not that you have tried something and tested something and then you are saying that it is a failure. You've not even tried it, you've not even tested it, and so far whatever you have tried, seen and tested, you see that it is successful. Then why deny that? I don't understand.
There is no doubt that a woman can do whatever she wants to do and must be allowed to do what she wants to do.
Absolutely.
But in a country like India, will the society be ready for something like that?
See, again here I would like to cite another thing. Since I served in the support arm ordnance, I saw that time when I was inducted, it was 25 years back, that time men, they were ready to support you, they were ready to accept you. When they saw that, okay, you can perform your duties well, that was the only thing which mattered to them. That, okay, the woman who has come, she knows her job and she is doing it well, they were ready to support you, give respect to you. It was the officers, they had little issues at that time. So I will not say that, men in the army or the other ranks who are there, they would have any kind of, it is not that. There, it is matter of, how you're performing, it is matter of life. If they see that somebody is efficient enough to take care of them and other things, I don't think gender matters really.
Sure, okay. My question was more pertaining to the POW issue that you brought up and that you spoke about. Is the society, say for instance, a woman officer gets captured on the line of control and is taken back to Pakistan, would the society be okay with that? Is another question that needs to be answered as well.
Yes. So this is very hypothetical. I would say that firstly, tell me what past data one has that so many POWs are there. The way wars, I won't say that war, since how long a war has taken place. The way these days the wars take place, it is totally different. So I will not say that what used to happen in yesteryears that POWs were there. It is reduced. It is being fought in a very different platform. So the possibility of POW firstly is very limited, and if it is there, then I'm sure the woman knows that what she has enrolled herself into. Who are these people who are deciding on her behalf?
Okay, fair enough. All right, General. So
I want to first take this part of it. Who are they deciding on? The question is not we are deciding for women. We are deciding for the men. How comfortable are they to have a woman in the frontline position who can be taken a PW. That is the problem. It is not a question of the women. As I've said earlier, I have greatest respect for women and I've got absolutely no doubts that they can perform very well. But again, I'm saying the question is, do we need to be politically correct all the time? To say, okay, everything has to be equal. Gender equality doesn't mean that. You know, we have taken to say that everything which a man does, a woman will also do. Why? Why are we even going down that road? There are different issues, but let us come to the command issue. I don't think there's any issue of women commanding medical establishments. They are commandants in hospitals. I think really when I'm talking about command, I'm talking about combat command. Command in the battlefield. Right, okay, as of now they aren't there. They should never be there. On the issue of short service, I have a totally different opinion altogether. Now, you see, when the men were granted, the officers, young officers were granted short service commission, the whole point of creating a short service commission was to create a support cadre. Now, if you give the men, obviously you should have given the women, so that was, I think, legally untenable. But my question was, why have you given it to the men in the first place? It is supposed to be a short service cadre, a support cadre. If we had kept it as a support cadre, this problem wouldn't have arisen. But we haven't kept it as a support cadre, you see, so you cannot discriminate on those grounds. But when we are talking about the regular cadre, I think what the lady should first fight for is, we will train the same way as the men. Your training is different. You do not go through the same rigors of the Service Selection Board. You do not go through the same physical criteria. Now we cannot have it one way, that let us go through only the officer's bit and we can go for the command and become the chief. Yes, then please go as a cadet also. Go through the same Services Selection Board, join the National Defence Academy, do your 3 years, do your 1 year IMA, do it with the same yardsticks. Then don't claim gender that, listen, I'm weaker, give me another 2 minutes to do my 14 miles or whatever it is. Don't make me carry the 40 kg pack. You have to carry the 40 kg pack too. Now you cannot say that I'm shorter. The Gurkha soldier and the 6-foot Sardar will carry the same weight. So please carry that weight also. Now, but everything, what I mean to say is, let us not put everything onto a platter that everything has to be equal in that equal proportion. It doesn't work that way. There are many roles which I feel women can play in the armed forces which are more important. It was mentioned here, you can be, warfare has changed. Obviously it has changed. We need women there. You can be that best of best fighter sitting in Delhi, knocking out something 1,000 kilometers away. Right? The way the Americans are doing it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Rise up in that rank, go to the highest rank. But if you have joined a particular service, if you're a regular officer, say in the Ordnance, I personally see no reason. If a young lady has joined the Ordnance Corps, as Mr. Todd has done, she's done a lieutenant, she's done a captain, she's done a major, she's become a CO. Well, I see no reason why she can't become a commanding officer there. But I would personally say India will be going down the wrong path if you start putting women in combat roles, right? It is not simply a question of getting a prisoner of war. You are in an insurgency, right? What happens if something happens there and something goes wrong with insurgents? You are taken a captive. A man is taken as a captive, we'll handle it. A woman is taken as a captive, it becomes an international issue. You see, there is a difference between a sepoy dying and a general dying. Both are the same. It is a life lost to somebody. But the impact on the social media, the impact on world news is, oh my God, they've lost a senior general. Oh my God, they've lost a sepoy. It is a difference. Lives are important. Both lives are equally important. But the impact on society is different. So I think we have to look into that impact also. It is simply not a question of looking at it with one particular lens that we will be politically correct. Why start with the army? Please be politically correct. There are hundreds of other institutions where we haven't even bothered to be politically correct. Let us get there first. If we feel that the Indian Army men are not good enough for India, at that stage may come too. Please get your women in there. I'll be very glad if they fight for us.
Okay, all right. An emotional, response there by the general, and some very valid points raised by both of them. So, Aishwarya Bhati, as a lawyer now, how do we take the middle path? What is the middle path? Is there a middle path?
I don't think we have to wait for our men to not be good enough for women to be taken into the roles. Today, the debate is not about whether women should be taken in combat roles in the army. The debate today is the roles that women have been playing in 10 streams which are combat support roles, where they have been here since 1992, whether they should be denied, where they have Colonel Saab is also ad item with us on this issue.
General sir.
I'm sorry, General Saab is also ad item with us on this issue. So if you have gone through the ranks, it's not the commanding officer who's there, on the first line. It is the young captains and the majors who are there. So once you have gone up through there in your line of specialization, in your area of specialization, you've been there for the last 25 years, you have done so well that initially it was taken in as an experiment. But then the government, improved its policies. First, they gave permanent commission in 2 of the streams, which were the education and the legal stream. Thereafter, now in 2019, the policy decision has come for all the 10 streams where women have been existing as short service commission officers. If you are good enough for short service commission, you are good enough for permanent commission, and if you are good enough for that, then you can't be denied a commanding role in the position that you are there. I think, and I will also not say that today the debate is not about whether women should be in combat, but I wouldn't go to the extent of saying that never. Why never? The role of combat is changing. Combat by itself is changing. I have friends in the Indian Air Force who say that the last of the fighter pilots has already been born. Gone would be the eras of the dogfights. There will be fighter controllers. Like General Saab mentioned, that there will be like America kind of drone strikes attacks where flight controllers will be playing the important role. So when the conventional warfare changes completely. Right now also it is changing. That is how we see more women playing those roles. But when it changes completely, there will be more scope for women to work there. I think what is important to note is not this man versus woman. Right now what is being done is that denying women, as a class, these short service commission women who will be given permanent commission, they are being sought to be denied command positions in those roles. So that is wrong. If she is suitable, if the institutional requirement is there, and if she meets all the fitness, nobody is asking lower yardsticks to be there for women officers. I mean, I work in a profession which has been a male bastion for decades and decades. Yardsticks don't get lowered for us. We rise up to the occasion whenever we have to, and women have done that in Indian Army. In fact, we see fighter pilots. Women have been inducted as fighter pilots, again on an experimental basis, and they will lay down the foundations for how combat roles are defined for women and how they get into combat. But we have to be progressive. I mean, what is now has to be looked at now, and we can't say never for combat roles for women in the army.
Okay, time now to get closing concluding remarks from all my guests, starting first with you, Anubha Rathod. What would you like to see change in the army in the near future and maybe in the midterm going forward?
See, acceptability in the sense that, okay, let's not talk about the combat roles, but non-combat role where women are there, they should be given their due if they deserve that. That is what, and as we all have agreed upon that the warfare methods, they are going to change, they would evolve. So if they are found suitable there, we would not say that it will never happen. We should keep that window open, that when it happens, when it starts happening, then gender has no, issue there. Anybody who fits the bill should be given the due.
Another issue that I would like to raise, General, and something that probably needs to be addressed at a societal level is the fact that one of the arguments that was put forth before the court was that because of the patriarchal mindset of the people who join the army, they will not be willing to listen to what a female commanding officer or a female senior officer would say. How do we change all of that now? And do you believe at some level the women have a case and we should start some kind of a pilot project maybe for combat roles or for some difficult assignments?
No, as far as this mindset is concerned, we have had a woman prime minister. I don't think that will really matter. If the woman is competent, she's a commanding officer, she's been through the mill, as they say, I think it should be all right, especially in the services, right? So I've got no doubts about that. I don't think there will be, I personally don't think there will be an issue with the men. I'm very focused on the command aspect, on the, combat arms, because that is a totally different ballgame. Regardless of how warfare changes, let us never make the mistake that all the warfare is going to be played on your computers, right? We have seen the lessons of Afghanistan. Unless there are boots on the ground, you don't win wars. And even with boots on the ground, it becomes a very difficult proposition. We've got hundreds of thousands of people in Iraq and Syria on the ground with boots, right? You may kill one Soleimani with that drone attack, but unfortunately, it doesn't work that way every time. You've got to have those men physically there guarding you physically there on the border, physically there on the post, which throws up its own challenges. Don't do it for combat. It's not going to work. For command, yes, I'm absolutely certain that if you're in the services, you've grown up with the system, give it to them. But please make a start even earlier. Don't start with the commission. I would like very much the ladies here to say we will train with our men, with our cadets. We will go through the same selection process. We do not want any relaxation there. If the man can run with a 40 kg pack, my girl can do it too. I'll be very happy. Please do that. So start from your training, go for the same examinations, go through the same psychological breakup process which the male officer goes through, right? Then get in. Then work your way up to your command level. I really don't see any problem. But even after all that, stay out of combat. There are, when we are talking of combat support, when you're doing that computer business, the computer warfare on your screens, that is different. That is kept behind. That is not frontline fighting. Keep women out of frontline fighting. It's not going to work.
Okay, all right. And Aishwarya Bhatia, close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
I think all that we need is the change of mindset, Frank. I think change of mindset will open doors, will open boundaries, and why should we just look at India? There are other countries which have allowed women in combat roles, and India itself has. Like I mentioned, women have been taken as fighter pilots in the Air Force. Their training, I don't think was any less rigorous or any less, less in any way. So let's see. The times will change. 100 years ago, women were fighting for their right to franchise. They did not have right to franchise, not even in the developed world. It has been a long journey. It's continuing to be a long journey. This is just a small milestone in that journey, and I don't think that commanding positions should be denied. I think we are all ad idem on that. Commanding position should be denied to women who are there as short service commission and now permanent commission women officers.
Okay, all right. On that note, then we'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's it from me on this edition of The Big Picture. See you again next time.